Welcome to MATCHplay, where every episode starts with a spark and ends with insight that can only come from personal experience at the highest level. Let's tee up some good conversation. I'm Thad Miller, and welcome back to MATCHplay. Today's conversation is about whole person health, preventative care, and redefining what it means to truly feel well. Our guest is Dr. Tanya Lawson, a licensed naturopathic doctor, functional medicine expert, and founder of In Bloom Health in New Hampshire. Her work sits at the intersection of conventional medicine and root cause healing, helping patients move beyond symptom management to long-term vitality. Thanks for being here, doctor. I'm so grateful you're here to spend time with us. This is really exciting.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. We're going to get into how you work in this industry and also the fact that you sold your business. So every episode starts with a spark. I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions.
Oh, pressure's on.
Right.
Okay.
What was your first job?
I worked as not including my family's business, a real job. My first job was a deli clerk at a grocery store, slicing meat and cleaning the rotisserie chicken oven.
You're a tennis player. What's your favorite shot in tennis?
Okay, my signature shot, I like being by the baseline, and I do a really deep shot into the other baseline. Wow. I don't know what the official name is, but that's the shot my opponents don't like when I do it.
Wimbledon or U.S. Open?
Oh, no, I'm a Canadian native, but now I just got my American citizenship in November. So what do I choose? I'm going to choose Wimbledon. It's classic.
That's fair.
But U.S. Open would be my number 2.
Have you been to either?
I haven't. They're on my bucket list, though.
I'd like to go to both. Okay, so Dr. Lawson, she didn't start out planning to build a functional medicine practice. She went into medicine and specialized immediately. Never spending time in internal medicine, she spent years in conventional clinical settings and eventually realized many patients were still searching for answers. That curiosity and frustration led her to functional medicine and ultimately to founding In Bloom Health, which sold last year. Tell us what originally drew you to medicine.
So I come from a family of healthcare providers. My father was actually a dentist for 45 years, and my mother was a nurse. Yeah. So medicine always felt very close to my heart, and taking care of people really just felt natural to me. I remember even as a young child, I'd sometimes have to go in and help my dad over the weekend if he had an emergency patient. And
you were the assistant.
I used to,
that was your first job. That was before you were carving meat, really.
Yeah, and it was probably a lot more glamorous as well. I used to file the paper charts because obviously back in the 1980s, we didn't have electronic medical records. Yeah. So I used to really, see the practice and was fascinated with it. Also had a really strong interest in health. I, unfortunately, sometimes in the dental profession, it's a very high stress profession. So I saw my dad struggling with certain health concerns over the years. And I felt like, wow, like what makes people want to be healthy? What drives health habits and health behaviors? So I actually did my undergrad not in traditional pre-med, but I did it in psychology, and I thought I would go into health psychology. But I did a little pivot because when I learned that health psychologists really have to take research roles, I really wanted to be patient facing. I really wanted to work with people. So when I learned about other types of medicine, naturopathic medicine really appealed to me because this type of medicine was a little more holistic. Growing up in Canada, we have a public healthcare system, so it's very overburdened. Many times when you see a doctor, if you're lucky enough to have a doctor, you might just get a few minutes with them and they'll write you a script and you'll be on your way. A lot of times, even in the offices, in the medical practices there'll be signs on the wall that say, you can bring one concern in at a time. And I felt like, well, what if the one concern's related to another concern that's really, what if they're all connected in the same thing? How's a patient supposed to know that? So I felt like if I could be part of a type of medicine that really supports people, that really takes the time to learn about many symptoms they may be having, things that may, systems that may be interconnected. That's the type of medicine that I'm attracted to. So I went into naturopathic medicine, which is a separate specialty, and you go to a separate medical school where you don't just learn about conventional medicine, but you learn about nutrition. In Canada, I also got my acupuncture license. You learn about supplements, you learn about functional medicine testing. So
You're ahead of your time, a pioneer. Did you start your practice with that in mind?
yeah, so because I come from a family of entrepreneurs, I was cursed with that as well.
That's okay.
So when many of my colleagues, were accepting jobs or looking for associate positions upon graduation, I was renovating my first practice and I opened it up 3 days after my medical license came in the mail, literally from scratch. And this was in Canada. So this is not the practice I sold. This was my first practice. I built that practice. I quickly grew to a second location. Life events happened and I actually ended up getting divorced very suddenly in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And this caused a restructuring of my business, but it also allowed me to start dating again. And I met an American husband. So I moved countries.
Starting everything over again.
Yeah. So when I moved to the US, I actually did work for a conventional hospital. I took a consulting job where I was actually working with oncology patients and consulting with them in terms of, what could they do maybe on the naturopathic side or functional medicine side that was safe with chemotherapy and radiation.
Wow.
And then in the US, I felt like I didn't want to jump into private practice right away because, there's cultural differences, there's differences in medicine. I want to get my feet wet. So this was a really amazing experience, but I knew after the year that I wanted to go back into private practice.
So you found a spot and started from scratch again?
Yes, and it gets even more interesting. So I went to the bank and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to build this clinic. I want to, do what I did in Canada. And they looked at me and they said, okay, well, here's your $500 credit card. And I was like, well, no, wait. I'm like, I am a doctor. Like, you can do a little better than that. And they said to me, no, when we look you up, you're completely blank. Like, come back in 6 months. We'll bump you up to 1,000 because your credit score does not follow you when you move countries.
I've never heard of that. I'm sure they treated you like a high schooler.
Yes. Yeah. I might have cried a little bit when I left the bank.
But yeah.
So then I said to them, listen, what do I need to do? They're like, you need 2 years of business data. I was like, I'm going to get you your 2 years of business data. So I literally rented this tiny room. I had one assistant. There wasn't even a restaurant. You had to go down the hall with a key to use the bathroom. It really was like a grassroots clinic. Grew by 2019. I finally moved into a real office with it was 2,000 square feet. I started buying equipment, and I really was able to flourish it. And then then I was getting offered financing all the time.
You didn't go back to that first bank, did you?
You went to a different bank. Yes, exactly.
What were some of the early challenges of just getting started?
So it's really interesting. I would talk globally about getting started in this profession. Like you said, was a pioneer. I was doing this before. Now it's very trendy. It's mainstream. People hear of functional medicine. People get IV nutrient therapy. They take vitamins. Okay, back in 2006 in Canada, this was quackery. This was fringe alternative medicine. And literally I would have doctors tell, if we were sharing patients, they'd be like, don't do that. Don't see her. This is not good. You're going to get hurt. You're getting ripped off. This isn't going to make a difference. Also in Canada, this type of medicine's not part of the system that's free or that's paid for by your taxes. So you have to convince that there's value in making this investment when your population is used to getting free healthcare.
Yeah.
So definitely had challenges that way. When I moved countries, I think my biggest challenges were I didn't know a soul. I had no support. I really, besides my husband and my kids, they were my biggest cheerleaders. But I really had to do everything from the ground up and just pound pavement and meet people and make connections and really try to build something with limited resources.
Yeah.
I'm
We had
also
$500. You had your credit card, you know.
right. And like coming out of a divorce, like that's really financially devastating, right?
Sure.
Like, and that's kind of where I was at. I like just came out of a divorce, year prior, moved country. Like there was just a lot going on. And I think it just took a lot of, like, I'm a very strong-willed person. So I kind of had my mission, I had my vision, and that's what I wanted to do. And tell me no, or tell me I'm only going to get five. No, I'm going to figure out a way to
Good for
do it.
you.
It's like,
Well,
I want to
you're
know.
inspirational. That is
Thank
incredible.
you.
That is
Thank you.
awesome.
What do you think is the biggest misconception patients have about functional medicine?
So I think right now what we're seeing within the patient side is people think they can do it on their own, right? Because a lot of patients now can test it on themselves. They can put the tests in Chat GPT. Chat GPT can spit out, sometimes decent recommendations.
Yeah.
But I do think, you miss pieces of it and you miss sometimes the connections that need to be made, that experience, having experience can really help make those connections for the patients. I think people sometimes think doctors can take a weekend course and be experts in functional medicine. I would say to be good in functional medicine takes years. A lot of times I'm doing second opinions for functional medicine because, a lot of doctors want to get into this type of medicine because a lot of it is cash based outside of insurance. And I think some doctors almost look at it as a quick way out, but to be really good at it and to really do right by a patient, it does take time to learn.
Oh, I'm sure.
Many patients are already on medications. How do you intermingle this with traditional medicine?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the real strength of the training that I did, because we're looking at how these interact, like how natural substances or supplements interact with pharmaceuticals so that we're combining them in a safe way, or we're combining them in a way that can mitigate side effects, right? We know, like with statins, you need to take CoQ10 because statins deplete that. And some of the side effects may be related to that depletion. So there's ways of looking, at these things integratively. And I've always felt like that's how I practice. It's not this or that. It's this, because that's what's best for patients.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yes, the conventional treatment is the way to go. And sometimes the more lifestyle, softer treatment is the way to go. But many times it's a combination of both.
When you sold, what did In Bloom Health look like? Staff, patients, location?
Yeah, so we're still a single location. We're almost 4,000 square feet, 9 staff members. Um, we offer wellness and integrative medicine, but then also, and functional medicine, but then also have an aesthetic component to the practice. So we're a full service, like non-invasive medical aesthetic clinic. So we have things like lasers, we do injectables, body contouring treatments, etc. Because what we were finding over the years is once patients felt better, they wanted to start looking the way they felt. So we really offer sort of this inside outside wellness treatments. And then the opposite is also true. Sometimes people come in, they want a little freshening up and they're like, but I don't, like, I feel tired. I'm not sleeping. I don't feel good. And then we can get their, insides fixed and matching their outsides.
Awesome.
What was your staff's makeup?
So sometimes clinics like this will have mid-levels. I don't currently have a mid-level, so I'm the medical director, and then I have nurses and estheticians, admin support, and then office manager.
What made you stay in one location versus expanding?
So my first little one room clinic was in a city, one city over, one town over. And I loved it. But I could not find appropriate space.
Yeah,
So I expand my area just slightly to the next town over. And I just found the most beautiful location. We have 9-foot ceilings, natural light in every room. I feel like when patients come in, they really feel like the warmth and support of the practice, just even in the interior design from when they walk into the space. So that sets the tone for the experience they're going to have in our practice, which we feel is, a luxury experience, but really personalized care.
People can get wrapped up in multi-location model and lose sight of what makes them special. Unless they have people, place, and systems, it's really hard to replicate.
if you're lucky.
Well, and COVID was good to us because, well, obviously it was hard when it was happening, but we're in a 3-unit building and we were in 1 unit, and the next door unit became available because it was a corporate office and they went remote permanently.
I see.
So we took over that office and we
Okay.
doubled our footprint in
And
the
that was
same
in
space.
2021 or like
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good for you.
So that was awesome that worked out. But I agree. And I did have 2 locations in Canada. And because I was one of the main providers, what I found was patients were calling and they're like, where is she today? Okay, I'll just go there. Because it was like they were literally one town over. So it was
Right.
like, oh, if I have to
Right.
drive 15 minutes to that
You
one,
were the
that's
one running, not them. Right. Exactly.
right. Yeah,
Sure.
there's definitely challenges, but it can be done right. And I think, that's on the table for In Bloom Health, that we might do a second location in the future. And that's really exciting to me. But I agree. I think it has to be done in a way that's sustainable.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you see healthcare evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
So it's going to be really interesting to see how AI plays a role in healthcare, because
Sure.
we see even in other countries, urgent care clinics are being replaced by AI computers. And, will I have a job or not? I guess that's the question. I
I
think I
think
still
so.
will.
I
I
think
think I still
I
will.
think
But
I'd gamble
it'll
on
be
you.
interesting.
Yeah.
But I think also, prevention is what we're going to see a focus on. I
Good.
think longevity, but not just living longer, right? No one wants to live to be 120 and feel like garbage. We want to live well. And I
Yeah.
think the good thing about information and testing and all of these things being available to your everyday person is patients are taking charge of their health, and that's being encouraged. And I think that's really interesting. And I think it's really important because for too long, the model was, the doctor's the expert, they come in the room and they tell you what to do. The model now is the patient's very educated. They may be coming in with all of these things they've already done and all these tests they've already had. And the doctor is a partner to that
Yeah.
patient. And you're working together to align with their goals and what their health is and what, they want to achieve. And I really think that's empowering, not just as a provider to walk with patients that way, but also to the patient.
Yeah.
I know we've also seen a growth in concierge medicine, people paying more to go on that journey. When did you decide it was time to sell or bring on a partner?
This is going to be maybe a different opinion from other
Yeah.
guests you've had on, but
Sure.
this was a really spur of the moment, like, aha for me. Like,
Okay.
I actually never would have ever considered selling, but I just started looking at the way the industry was going, right? We're seeing, like, especially in aesthetic medicine, we're seeing a lot of franchises pop up, a lot of, chains of clinics. And I was just kind of thinking one day, I was thinking, the way things are going, it is becoming really expensive for me to have a small practice because these franchises get group buying power, for things in
Right.
aesthetic medicine. And I'm paying like the highest price because I don't have that buying power. I was also thinking, it's getting kind of lonely. Like I'm just kind of here, the sole medical director. Sure, I have colleagues, but
Yeah.
I don't really, colleagues. they're also somewhat competitors in
Hmm.
so how much do you want to share with them? Like, you're going to share maybe a little, but not like the whole piece. And I heard about a company called Alpha Aesthetics, which really is a company of like these elite practices, elite aesthetic medicine practices and wellness practices in the US. And I reached out to them just to get some information. I was like, hey, this is what, this is my practice. I love it. I'm not ready to retire. Like, I'm not looking for an exit plan, but I really want to be part of a group that's going to provide, some stability, that's going to, help increase profit margins, that's going to, act maybe as resource in certain areas, right?
Sure.
Like, as a single business owner, you have to do everything. You have to
Sure.
do the HR, all the parts of the business that, some things you like, some things maybe less so. So when I learned what they were trying to do and how that they were really looking more for a practice owner that wants to pour fuel on the fire, wants to grow, isn't looking to exit immediately, but when the time comes, that structure is in place. Yes, I could have waited, but I felt like in my heart the time was just right. And especially where the industry is going, where we're seeing so many private equity backed practices, I felt like to be competitive, I wanted an opportunity to do something like that. And also, I want an opportunity to get in early. So, private equity in dentistry has been going on for years, but in my industry, it's a little newer. We're not seeing as many private equity backed practices as we are in other
Sure.
industries.
Sure.
So, this is when I felt like I needed help doing something like this because it was completely foreign to me. And then that's when I decided to call Tusk
Yeah.
and interview them. And I interviewed actually a few companies, but I felt like Tusk was the right choice for me because they were not pushy. They really listened. They really knew what was right for me in terms of my fit. And they walked me through the whole process because I just didn't even know what questions to ask.
Your gut has been great to you. How did that transpire?
It moved pretty quickly. So once I told Tasca, I was like, listen, I'm thinking of joining Alpha Aesthetics. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They're like, how do you know that's the right group for you? I'm like, I just know. They're like, no, you need to meet with all of these other companies just to make sure. They're like, we're going to get you multiple offers because that will also lend well in like your negotiation with whoever you decide to choose. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. So they did set me up with like multiple meetings. I did have multiple offers. I still ended up going with Alpha Aesthetics, but
Yeah.
it did confirm, right? It's like a major decision to who you want to bring on as a partner. So it did confirm to me that, that was the right group, that they were looking more for a growth minded
Yeah.
partner. And I felt like the other partners and I were really aligned. Like, I got to meet and speak with a lot of the other partners, and it just really felt like a great fit for me. And I feel like that is maybe the piece that's so important in these types of transitions, finding the best fit. Because if you're a doctor or a dentist looking to cycle practice, like, that's your baby. You
Yeah.
built that, and you want to make sure whoever's taking it over or who you're partnering with, they're going to be aligned in your values and in your practice style even. And
Absolutely.
That's consistent advice we hear. Slow down, be discerning, because it's a partnership. Any advice of people looking to sell?
it's really hard. I am
Yeah.
gonna, like, even
Yeah.
having the supportive task, like, they were amazing. Like, sometimes they'd call me at like 10:30, 11 at night if I was like texting. They're like, let's just talk. But it was a really hard process. Um, because you are giving up that control. And I think even just the negotiating process can be really tough as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the legal piece, like like there was just so many contracts, like it just gets really overwhelming, the due diligence. And I mean, I think when you're selling to private equity, the due diligence requirements are pretty extreme.
Yes.
Like they literally want to see like every contract you've ever signed like in your life. And you're trying to track down like 5 years ago I signed this, like where is
Right.
it?
Right.
Right. So, and because I wasn't also thinking ahead of, I'm looking to sell. For me, I was like, wow, I don't have any of this ready to go. So that would be good advice for someone. If you're thinking of selling, start like getting pieces together, like contracts you may have signed or, equipment leases, like all of that you can have in one, central place. So it's easier to track down. Make sure your numbers are good. So this is not, if you're thinking of selling, it's not the time to scale back. It's the time to ramp up so that you can get the most value for your practice. Make sure you know what your transition plan looks like because some people are trying to exit and some people, like me, are going to be around for a while because you have 3 kids, including 2 teen girls, are very expensive. So I need to work for a little while longer.
You're young, and having a partner to guide you through what matters is critical. Okay, we normally end match play with a golf tip, but today we're doing tennis. Any tips you've been working on?
Yeah, so my tennis coach always says you got to charge the net. So if you have the opportunity, you want to get up to the net and play from the net. And because my favorite shot is by the baseline, I struggle with this. So I'm trying to be more like, okay, up at the net. Because by the net, you can play one-step tennis where you can really, hit it in the direction you want to go with very little effort and catch your opponent off guard.
I like it. And I know there's a rift between tennis and pickleball players. We won't go there. Well, that's it. Doctor, I'm so grateful for your time. I've learned a lot, and I hope the listeners have too. Thanks for being here.
All right. Thanks so much. It was
You got it.
so much fun.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in to Match Play, and we'll see you next round.